Hi, folks. We're going again to work on our grammar, and we're going to be working on capitalization. Yesterday, we worked on proper nouns and why they need to be capitalized because they're a specific thing. So if you're talking about basketball players, that's going to be a common noun because there's a lot of basketball players. If you're talking about Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant, then we're going to capitalize their names because they are specific people. And now we're going to talk about one of the pronouns that you're going to be using a lot, especially if you're doing like narrative writing, and that's the pronoun I. And the pronoun I is special because it is always capitalized. We're going to go through the rules and why that's the case with this presentation that I have prepared for you folks. So the presentation is I am important because that I, whenever you see it, it needs to be capitalized. But there are a few rules and pitfalls that I don't want you to fall into. So I'm going to explain some things to help you out. So it says proper nouns versus pronouns. As we discussed yesterday, proper nouns are a way to talk about a specific person, place, or thing. And this is what I was talking about earlier. If you're talking about a basketball player, hey, we don't need to capitalize basketball player. But once I say LeBron James, he's a specific basketball player. So I need to make sure that I capitalize his name. Now, pronouns, they're going to be used in place of a noun, but you can only use it after the noun has been introduced. You can't walk up to somebody and be like, hey, he was acting crazy. They're going to ask you, who's he? Or she was so late, who's she? They were so mean, who's they, right? So pronouns can't be used first, but after you explain what the or who the person is, then you can use a pronoun in following sentences since you and the speaker, since you both now understand who the conversation is about. But a very important key you have to remember, do not start with a pronoun first in the story. You have to first introduce that character, introduce that person in order to go to a pronoun. So for example, I have these two sentences here. It says, LeBron James is a great basketball player. He knows how to do everything. So you see here, you have LeBron James is a great player. We have that proper noun here. So we have the L and the J capitalized, and we have he knows how to do everything, right? We have that H capitalized because it's the start of a sentence, but he knows how to do everything. Okay, so instead of LeBron, since we already brought him up in the conversation, now we can replace that with he. So that's going to work the same way if you're talking about yourself. So if I'm talking about myself, I'm not going to use the pronoun he or he, even though I'm a boy, I'm going to use I, right? So for myself, if I'm talking about I went to the store, going to the store, I'm going to use I. And every time I use that I, I'm going to capitalize it. I'm going to have a capital here for I. Now, there are other pronouns. Don't worry too much if you don't know all these yet, because we're going to be going over each of these in time. The most important right now is this I, but Thomas, if it's a male, that's going to be he. If it's a female, a woman, it's going to be she. If it's me, like I and a bunch of people I know, that's going to be we. And if it's other people and I'm not included in that group, then we're going to use the pronoun they. So let's talk about the cases where we're going to be capitalizing I. So when you're speaking about yourself and writing, you're often going to use that pronoun I. I is always capitalized when it is referring to you and it's by itself, but you don't just start randomly capitalizing I's in the middle of words. For example, you see here, I have an I here by itself and that's capitalized. But here in the middle, I don't have it capitalized because it's not by itself. It does not mean a person. It's just the letter I at that point. So you have to be careful of that distinction. So it says in these two sentences here, I went to the store versus I went to the store. So in that first one, we're wrong for two reasons. The first is the I is a lowercase and it's the start of a sentence. So if it's the start of a sentence, you have to capitalize it. Secondly, you need to capitalize it because it's an I by itself, talking about a person, talking about yourself. Next, it says, where is the ice going? Here, I capitalize the I in ice, and that's not correct because it's not ice by itself. It's not I by itself, and the ice isn't at the beginning of the sentence. So you can't do that. The correct way to do that would be to put where is the ice going with the lowercase I as we can see here. Let me highlight that so we can, oh, can't highlight it. Let's move on to conjunctions. So I is also capitalized when it's used in a conjunction to combine two words. So for example, if someone asks me, hey, Mike, where are you going? I'm going to the store. I am. I'm going to the store. So I'm going to combine that. And even though the I isn't technically by itself, because it's a conjunction, it still kind of is, right? So you're still going to treat it like it's by itself. And you're going to capitalize that I. So I want you to use these slides to help you answer the questions that are going to be attached to this assignment. On the assignment, you're going to be given, I believe it's 5 sentences, and each of them has a problem. And your job is going to be to fix that problem. So good luck when you're working on that assignment. Again, I'll try your best. And if you do run into any issues, please reach out to me into the classroom Zoom so I can help you out and we can solve those problems. Thank you.